got the Britannia Band here tonight again, some great musicians. You hear Johnny Quigley, Gay McIntyre.
Do you remember Johnny Quigley and Gay McIntyre?
I do indeed, yes.
Do you really?
Before I went to Derry, I was in Castlederg, County Tyrone. I had a dance hall to run there, and I had show bands there. Johnny played for me there way back in the late 50s.
You sound like an operator as good as Canon Horan, you know?
I'm not. I don't build airports.
Yeah. Yet.
Not yet.
Yet. Yeah. But, yes, there was one other thing that I wanted to question you. You see, this Wizard of Oz in December '64, continuing nightly except Fridays and Saturdays. Why weren't they on Fridays and Saturdays?
I couldn't tell that.
Come on. Why not Fridays and Saturdays? Was it bingo night?
This is more like a confession.
You had it wrapped up, didn't you?
We'd bingo on Friday and Saturday. Still have to. I don't run it anymore.
All right, then. You, Bishop, please, you do the intro to Gay McIntyre and Johnny Quigley, then. Say nice things about Gay McIntyre and Johnny Quigley.
Well,
now, pretend you're Gay Byrne now. Pretend you're Gay Byrne.
Well, Gay and
Here
Johnny.
we have, yes.
Here we have Gay McIntyre, Johnny Quigley, two great Derry musicians on wind instruments. They play all kinds of music, jazz, Dixieland, traditional jazz. I don't know, I haven't a clue what they're going to play tonight.
A medley.
A medley. Well, I know I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah. There they are. There you are. Gay McIntyre, Johnny Quigley, ladies and gentlemen, and the band with their own sons. Go ahead, boys. Take it from there.
When the saints march on in, I'm gonna be in their numbers. When the saints go marching in, Dixieland. When that band plays Dixieland, I'm gonna be in their numbers. When that band plays Dixieland.
Yes, indeed. There you go now. Gay McIntyre and Johnny Quigley and the Saints. There you are, Charlie. You're very welcome indeed. Good to have you with us. Charlie Gallagher this is, and he's a man who knows practically everything there is to know about the history of Derry, I'm told.
That's rather an exaggeration.
Yeah, well, we'll try you if you... Talk to me about the war years, Charlie. It seems to me that Derry did very well always during war years. Is that so?
It was a very happy place during the war, which is practically, it's impossible to say why, but it was probably because everybody was working. Everybody had a shilling in their pockets, or a meal in their belly, and a roof over their heads. And people were very, very happy. In addition to which, we enjoy inviting strangers to Derry. We enjoy making them welcome and making them happy. And at any one time, we had 20,000 sailors in Derry.
20,000?
That's right. And the girls made them very happy.
Ah, you say you got to that thought about 1/5 of a second before I got there myself. Yes, and there was fierce activity, was there?
Oh, yes, fierce activity.
Yes.
Of all kinds.
And all prosperity and everything happening and so on, yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Do you know, for the first time this week, talking about you and talking about the show coming up, I hadn't realized all those U-boats surrendered.
Yes, the
in Derry.
entire...
What year was that now?
1945.
Yeah.
And the German U-boat fleet surrendered on the pier at Lissahalli. So there's about 45 U-boats there, and they surrendered to Vice Admiral Sir Max Horton.
And what happened to them?
They took them all out and scuttled them in the North Atlantic.
Did they really?
Yeah,
The whole lot?
the whole lot. Some of them were sunk as an exercise by aircraft. Others were sunk by other submarines firing torpedoes at them. But they took the whole boiling lot out and sank them.
My goodness. And what about the damage done to Derry during the war? There wasn't very much damage. I mean, to bomb damage or anything like that. You didn't have very much action, did
We
you?
were blessed in that respect, actually. We had plenty of alerts, plenty of enemy air activity. We had one incident in which 12 people were killed and one family was completely wiped out. A German aircraft, a mine-laying aircraft, dropped a mine intended for the river, but it drifted inward and exploded on the Messines Park and just blew away 2 houses, killed 12 people.
And were you there then, Charlie?
I was there. I was an ambulance driver. I was at the incident.
At that incident,
Yeah.
were you really? Yeah. And then after the war, there was lots of prosperity during the war and so on, a lot of activity, and a lot of girls got married, presumably moved away at that time, all of that.
Yes, and we thought we were on the up and up because Derry at that time, we saw a great future. And it looked as though we were going to get in on the ground floor of the petrochemical industry with the advent of DuPont. But unfortunately, first of all, they took away our sailing services to Glasgow and to Heysham and to Liverpool. And then they began to close down the railways one by one. And finally, we were thrown back then on man-made fibres. And of course, as you know, man-made fibres, then that collapsed. And very, very soon, Derry was back at square one, practically. In other words, very, very little employment for men.
And immediately after the war, you had a good time. I mean, there was BSR, wasn't there? The monogram, the
Yeah.
gramophone crowd.
Tape decks and
turntable,
record players, yeah.
yes,
And
turntables
of
and
course,
all
the
that, yes.
closure of that was not only a
Yeah.
tragedy, but in fact, it sparked off a great deal of the trouble which has happened
Yeah.
since.
Yeah.
1,500 young men on the streets, nothing to do, nowhere to go.
Yes. And what about the 20,000 fellas who were there keeping the girls occupied and so on? What were they doing exactly? Were they all sailors, or were they other bards?
We had Americans,
Yeah.
we had the Royal Navy, the Royal Canadian Navy, the Free French, the Free Dutch. We even had the Russians down from Murmansk.
Why in Derry?
It was probably the most northwesterly, it was the most important port on the northwest approaches.
By Joe, there must have been some goings on during that time, I'd say. Dear, oh dear. Charlie, now, I want to turn to Don Doherty. Don, welcome to you. Good evening to you, and welcome. Would you do, you're very welcome indeed. This is Don Doherty from Radio Foyle. Oh, everybody knows Don. Everybody knows. And congratulations on your success in The Wizard of Oz in 1964. You look very well indeed. Would you do an intro for me, Don, now to William Loughlin?
He would indeed. He's one of the people that we're very, very proud of in the city in Gay. He has been an ambassador for the city and has taken his music and his songs to America and all over the world. And he could have become a professional singer and gone away and had that offer made to him, but I think it was our luck that he didn't and stayed at home. And I think he's one of the finest voices that we have of his kind in Ireland, William Loughlin.
Well done. Welcome then, ladies and gentlemen, with James McCafferty at the piano, William Loughlin.
The Garden of Eden has vanished, they say, but I know that I love it still. Just to turn to the left by the bridge at Finney and stop when halfway to Coot Hill. It's there that you'll find it, I'm not sure enough, when fortune has come to my call. Oh, the grass it is greener around the valley, James Duff, and the blue sky is over it all. And the tones that are tender and the tones that are gruff are whispering over the sea. Come back, Paddy Riley, to Valley, James Duff. Come home, Paddy Riley, to me. You've heard of Columbus sailing across the Atlantic Sea, but he never tried to go railing from Ennis as far as Kilkee. You ran for the train in the morning, the excursion train starting at 8, and you're there when the clock gives the warning, and there for an hour you will wait. And as you're waiting in the train, you'll hear the guard sing this refrain. Are you right there, Michael, are you right? Do you think that we'll get home before the night? Ach, you were so long and certain that I couldn't say for certain, but you might then, Michael, so you might. Oh, Mary, this London's a wonderful sight, with the people all working by day and by night. They don't sow potatoes, nor barley, nor wheat, but there's gangs of them digging for gold in the street. At least when I asked them, that's what I was told. So I just took a hand at this digging for gold. But for all that I found there, sure I might as well be where the mountains of morn sweep down to the sea. Have you had to fill the flood from the town of Ballymote? Asked your time to go and hug with him and tag the man was broke. So we sent an invitation to his neighbours one and all as to how he'd like the company that evening at the ball. When writing out he was careful to suggest to them that if they found a hat there is convenient to the door, the more they put in whenever he requested them, the better would the music be for batter in the floor. With the toot on the float and the twiddle on the fiddle, hanging in the middle like a hen on the griddle. Up, down, hands around across to the wall. Oh, hand me the gaiety as fill the floaters ball.
Tell me about that.
Well, those pictures are from a collection from David Bigger and Terence MacDonald, and that is one which was taken at the foot of a place called Wapping Lane. And it's an arch which would have been erected for the 12th of August or the 12th of July in the city many years ago. I think the actual year's on the back of it,
It's a long time ago indeed.
a long time
Now,
ago.
what is that there?
That actually is a pork factory was a famous firm in Derry at the time called Grants. And mind you, there weren't many health inspectors about in those
My
days.
God, there were. Look at the filth.
That's it. And the thing about it, everybody was healthy in Derry at that time.
They had
Not
no
like
option.
now.
They had no
That's
option, right?
There was no antibiotics.
That's
or anything
right.
like that then.
They were the antibiotics.
That's it.
And what year would that be about? You're
I'm not sure, no, but it's
Would
on
that
the
be
back, yeah.
right. 1935.
35.
1935. My goodness me. And there's another, a shoe factory, obviously.
It is
isn't
a shoe factory, and that's another industry that has disappeared from the city too. There's a firm called Harper's who made shoes, quality shoes, made specifically for people
Yeah.
who got measured for them. And that type
Oh,
of
I
thing.
see.
But
Handmade
that's for
stuff. Yeah,
handmade
expensive stuff. Yes. Now that.
That is the Gwyn's Institute in Brook Park, which sadly isn't there anymore. It was destroyed by a bomb, that building.
Is the gun there?
The gun's moved too. Where did that gun go? Does
Where did
anybody
that
know?
gun go to, Charlie? Do you know?
Not
Back at the
that-
Guildhall, is it? Yeah, I see. Fine stalwart children. They're probably alive somewhere today. Now that looks like a sort of a family shop. What's that one now? What is that all
Well,
about?
people at home would recognise that place now, but nobody else. That's been completely redeveloped. Yeah, those buildings are all gone, and we have a new shopping centre there. One of the brightest things that has happened in the city in a long
What are them
time.
fellas doing there?
There was a statue there which they moved at that time. There was a war memorial put in the diamond, and they took that away and moved it to Brook Park.
I see. Yeah. And there's another old one. What's
Well,
that now?
That's an arch at the corner of Roswell Street in there, which was erected in actual fact for the Eucharistic Congress
Is that
in the
it?
city, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things Dr. Daly said over there, he remarked about, you actually said to him about the unemployed, the having very little to do in Derry, you might have something to do, but as you, most of those people would have been unemployed because when there was work everywhere, it was something we were used to, unemployment, because the only people who really had work at that time were the women who worked in the factories.
Yeah, you're accustomed to recessions up
Indeed,
there. It's a
very
permanent
much
way of
so.
life. Yeah, very
Billy
good. Very
Carson,
good.
Willie Carson there's into this business. in a
Yes,
very
he has a
big
book
way.
of photographs.
He
I
has
know.
a
Yes,
book,
I talked
several
about it on the
books,
radio.
several
Yes,
books,
yes,
that's
yes.
right.
Okay, listen, Don. Will you introduce now the Britannia Band?
I will
for me?
indeed.
You tell me about them.
They're a very, not this particular band, they're an old band. They were first formed in 1865, and they've made a major contribution to the musical life of the city since that time. And with due respect to bands who have gone in the past, Britannia bands, I think this is the best band they've ever had.
Yeah. Is Ken Goodman anything to Benny?
Good question.
He must
Good
be.
question.
You think they can look
Good
like that?
question. I don't think so.
All right then. Conducted by Ken Goodman, ladies and gentlemen. A welcome for the Britannia Band.
Thank
That was the Britannia Band and Ken Goodman. Bishop, you're going to lose your Wizard of Oz program there that you had. Dean Good, good evening to you. I want to tell you a story about Dean Good. The last time I met Dean Good was in a place called Burton Port in County Donegal. And there was a boat giving trouble out on its moorings out in the harbour. And I asked this good man, would he give me a lift on a dinghy out? And he said, yes. And halfway out he looked at me and said, I know you. I said, yes. And he says, you're a school inspector, isn't that right? The price of fame.
Right, but you got to your boat.
So I got to my boat. I must say, yes. Didn't get back too well, but I got to my boat. You're a runner, Dean, in Derry, I hear.
I beg your pardon?
You're a runner in. You don't belong to there at all, do you?
By relation now.
A relation.
17 years.
That's nothing. That doesn't count at all, for heaven's sake. You went in what year?
1967.
And where are you from originally?
Originally Dublin.
And you're retired now.
That's right.
Why don't you get out
Since
of the
last
place now and
September.
come back and join us again in Dublin?
Oh, no. If all your friends for 17 years or somewhere, you don't want to up and leave them.
Really?
I wouldn't like to.
You'd never leave Derry?
No, I wouldn't like to.
Stand over that statement. Stand over that statement now and explain to me why you wouldn't leave Derry.
Because it's an extraordinarily friendly place to live in, with the most friendly people you could imagine in it.
In spite of
And
all the troubles and all the
In
ructions and
spite of,
everything
and
else.
sometimes because of, all the troubles. It's been a very friendly spot. And a very nice place to retire to now, if you happen to be looking for anything of that.
You're trying to tell me something. And after your busy life as Dean of the Cathedral, what are you doing with your retirement now?
Yes. Hope to enjoy some sailing this year, and
Yes.
perhaps a little fishing,
Yes.
and
And you're not bored at all?
not yet, no chance of it.
No chance of it.
No.
Well, what do you do with your day? I mean, apart from the fishing and the sailing and all of that, what do you do with your day?
Yes, that's a very good question. Days pass very pleasantly, thank you.
He's a mine of information, isn't
He's
he?
a mine of
It
information.
just comes pouring out of it. Was it your cathedral that had the weird thing about the cross, that you had to replace the cross on it?
It was.
Was that?
It was.
Yes, and you went off on a helicopter ride to do that, or did you? Would you explain that to me, because I'm not too...
Well, it started by the fact that we were having damp up in one of the floors in the tower.
Yeah.
And we were doing some restoration work at the time, and we had a steeplejack, and we thought we'd better just send him up to see if he could see where the leak was.
Up
And
the
he
top.
came down from the top to tell us the job we had him on wasn't really important at all, but that the cross on the top of the spar wasn't attached to anything, and you could just rock it.
And this was a big cross, presumably.
It was. So when he came down, I went to the architect's office and sort of airily mentioned in the office, which if you was going to go up and see if this man's taking us for a ride or not. And in the end, it was the architect went up. And she discovered that it was absolutely right. And she went right up, held the tape at the top of the cross, measured it at the bottom. And we had to take the cross off, get the cross taken down, new one made, new one put up.
And how big a cross, Dean, was it?
Oh, no, I'm subject to correction by the architect, but I would say 6 feet.
And probably made of bronze or
No,
or
stone.
steel. Oh, stone, was it? Oh, I see, stone. Yes, yes. So they had to take
But
it
then,
down.
yes, and then the army actually helicoptered it up to the top,
And you with
which
it.
meant that you had to make a small platform
Yeah.
on the top, and the cross was lowered onto this and placed in that, and then the steeplejack had to actually get it off that and into its position straight up. But one of the English papers took this up, and they had a very sad story about the answer to prayer, that we were absolutely lost and couldn't get the thing up, and the army came to the rescue, and the steeplejack had to sue the paper. But actually, it was a very nice combined operation.
Very good.
And I think now the strongest part of the cathedral now is that cross and the spire underneath it.
This is you. It better be. It better be, yes. What are those two girls talking about up there? What are you two talking about up there? I heard you whispering there just a few minutes ago. Were you talking about the dean or about me? Or about the bishop? Or everybody? What about me? What about me? What about me? What were you saying?
Miss Hanson.
Spider Kelly, Senior and Junior. Good day to you, sir, and welcome. There you are. God bless you both. I don't know about you, but he's a fine, hefty, hearty man. How old are you, Mr. Kelly?
That's right.
How old are you?
Eh?
How old are you? 74.
How old am I?
Yeah, 74.
74.
74. How about that? And you're in pretty good nick for it indeed. Tell all our viewers, Billy, what is the connection? Now, you tell them that you're both...
Could I tell them first what you said to me, Gay, coming in when you were coming in? You introduced me. You turned around and you said to me, is your son with you?
That's right, yes, I did. So tell us what the connection is. You've won the same...
My father in 1938 became a British Empire featherweight champion. I then, not too long after, 1954, I won the Empire Featherweight Championship, and then in January 55 I won the British Featherweight Championship. So it actually was the first time in the world that any father and son had won a major title.
Most unique thing, yeah. Most unique, indeed. And Charlie Nash is up there behind you. Did you ever heard of him, Charlie Nash? Absolutely. How are you doing, Charlie? I can't get through you at the moment. Is that Mrs. Nash? Hello, you're very welcome, very welcome. How are you doing, Charlie?
Fine, Gay.
Is the pub gone now?
Yes, I've got rid of the pub now.
Thanks be to
I'm
God
an
for
hour
that.
job.
And what are you doing now?
I actually work for an insurance company, but I'm coaching a club now. But I've officially retired myself. I've taken over coaching a club.
Oh yes, the insurance business would be much more solid than
Oh, it is.
I would think. Yes.
It's not as tough as boxing.
Indeed not. How are the eyes?
Well,
The old problem. There's the second glass gone. Perhaps I should mention to you at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, that if you think everybody is in reasonably good form, listen, you have to pay for the glasses you break before you Sorry about that. Uncle Arthur in James's Street has supplied all our stout and beer during the show tonight, and it's flowing like water, and it deserves a mention. How about that? And don't look at me like that, Eamon McCann. You're drinking more of it than most other people in the place, for heaven's sake. Anyway, Charlie, how are the eyes?
Oh, they're great now, no problems at all.
Yes.
From I stopped boxing, like the left eye, I got cut maybe about 12 times in boxing.
Yeah.
Over the 23 years I have been boxing, it's well healed up now, there's no problems at all.
Weren't you the wise man that got out when the going was good?
Well, I think I got out just at the right time rather than carry on.
Well done. What do you think about Barry then?
I think he's tremendous. He's a very, very gifted boxer. I think he will win the world title.
You reckon?
Well, I'm not a gambling man, but that's one particular fight I'll have a bit of money on.
How much would you put on that?
About £1.
Come on, do a bit better than... No, really, do you think he has it?
I don't think, I have no doubt at all. Like, if any boxer about, at this time in Britain, Ireland, I think Barry McGuigan has the best chance of winning the world title.
Great.
I think he's tremendous.
I think
He's
you'd
very,
have it.
very gifted.
You'd have everybody with you there. Everybody with you there. Who would like in the audience to hear a song from John Hume? What renegade said no, or absolutely not? Or was it John, for all the times that you've been on the show, we never had a song from you. Control yourselves there, would you? What are you saying? What about Eamon McCann? He said it. Oh, yes. No.
We'll talk to you later on.
You'll deal with him later on. Would you give us a little bar? You would. Yeah. James, are you there? There you are. Give that man a microphone there. Do you know the words of the song you're going to sing? You leave it to yourself. You drop anybody in on this show. That's what we do all the time.
It's a Donegal song, Next Door to Us. It's the shortest one I know. Sandro na yora kyalla nali warnyer shikas du sinanyer abal grus parsum she hol mustum han shahram frano na bagre serene ar lach ar na langal shies and glanderer. Ag éile frídin canach gus cúnius in san spare. Ar ron amach leir nar village, ar sugruch ries nar gerich, is serena gloire gilia, tor rash and You didn't make me laugh, McCann.
Come, John, well done. Sit down there now, John. I have a note here on my all-embracing brief on this programme to say that you were a wow in the fesh in Derry. Is that true? A wow.
No, he wasn't.
Completely untrue.
You mean you never entered for the fesh?
I entered for the fesh once in my life when I was very young. I was about 9 or 10 years old. I was to sing a song called Mo Vestin Lia. I was number 11 on the Clar, and just as number 10 went on the stage, I got enormous fright and I ran all the way home. And I never appeared.
Never did a fesh?
Never. Never did a fesh, no.
So it's all lies I have.
It's complete and absolute,
God,
yeah.
I was told you were a Gold Cup winner and a
Oh, no, no,
Divil and all you did in the fesh.
That's right.
You must be the only one in Derry who never did then.
That's absolutely right, yeah.
Well,
I tried, though.
I'm glad ever since, John, you got over your stage fright
I did,
anyway.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You're no longer shy and retiring and all that sort of thing. Talk to me about Derry characters, John. Are there any characters in Derry now?
Well, I think when we were all growing up, we were all very conscious that there was plenty of characters around the city. And, but I don't think there's any around today at all, because, and I think one of the reasons for that is that they've all passed 11 plus. Because I believe our characters were highly intelligent people who didn't get a formal education, and their intelligence didn't find an outlet, so they became eccentric, and we thought we were laughing at them, but in fact, they were laughing at us. And I think that one of the reasons we don't have characters today is for that very reason. But we had a lot of them in the old days.
And did you have anything remotely resembling like a Bang Bang in Dublin, or any of those guys? You furrow your brow when I mention Bang Bang, but any Dubliner worth the salt will know who Bang Bang was.
Yeah.
Did you have any of those guys around?
Well, I think we had a lot of them, and I'm sure that every neighbourhood in Derry when we were growing up, there's a very great neighbourhood consciousness. You were conscious of what area you came from. And we had plenty of characters. In fact, one of them, who's probably our best known character, I'll just call him Johnny, and everybody will know who I'm talking about.
Johnny.
Bishop Daly went to visit him. He was very old at the time and was in our local psychiatric hospital, and Bishop Daly went down to visit him, and Johnny was talking to him and says to him, how you doing, Father Daly? And Bishop Daly, of course, used to be Father Daly. That's the way they get on. And Johnny says to him, he says, but I'm now Bishop Daly, Johnny, since I saw you last. He says, well, don't worry about it, Father. He says, if you stick around here for another fortnight, you'll think you're the Pope.
And everybody thought Johnny was mad.
That's right. Johnny was, who's laughing at who? Yeah.
Indeed. Is he still around now?
Oh, he's still around.
He's still there, is he? Yeah. And who else then? Are there any others that you can think of?
Yeah, well, there was Maggie, whom we all knew when we were growing
Maggie.
up. And the great story about Maggie, of course, is again in the cathedral saying her prayers, and as she always did at the top of her voice, and she's interrupted by a lady who prayed there regularly. Says, "Excuse me, madam, but you're too loud and you're distracting me. Would you mind lowering your voice?" So Maggie looked around at the altar, looked up and down at the lady and said, "As I was saying, Our Lady of Lourdes." Before that, so-and-so interrupted me. And the word was not so-and-so. It's a bit too impolite to use here, but...
Isn't that lovely?
But that was another very well-known. And as I say, I think most people here could talk about the characters in Derry, but they have all gone. And I think one of the reasons for it is the fact that... I mean, just you imagine Nell McCaffrey, for example. if Nell hadn't passed the 11 plus and got a university education, what sort of character Nell might have been, you know.
They'd be calling her Nell.
Sorry
and
about
everybody
that. And she was still in Derry.
Come to think of it, you just say Nell, everybody knows who you're talking about anyway. There you are. Councillor Jim Guy, you are sitting there with a thing underneath your seat. And it is not a glass, and I think it calls for an explanation, because I'm getting worried about you, Mary. Would you take it up and tell me what it is, please, now?
Well, it is a cannonball.
Thanks be to God for that, I would
There is a touch fuse on it, but it's not just live at the present moment, so I think you're all right, Kay, in this particular aspect.
An actual cannonball, is it?
It is a cannonball which we have actually been given as for our museum in the Apprentice Boys Memorial Hall, and it is one of the ones that apparently was fired into the city during the siege of 1688-1689.
Get away. The actual thing.
Yes, that's a small one compared to the one that I...
By Jove, there's a
showing
fair
to some
amount
of
of
your
weight in
people.
that, isn't
Yes.
it? Mind you, if that was thrown at you, you'd know all about it right enough. Yeah, that's the actual one.
Yes, it is indeed.
Well, what else have you then?
Well, I have some other items of...
This is all Apprentice Boys now memorabilia, is it?
Yeah, this is actually... we have a museum in the Apprentice Boys Hall, and this is some of the
Can I
items.
drop that? Can I drop
Well, if you think something of your floor, I don't think you should drop it, actually. Just drop it.
That's a fairly hefty yoke, that, right enough. Yeah.
This is a small shot which was taken from the Dartmouth, which was one of the ships who helped in the relieving of the city
They're
during the siege.
Apprentice cannonballs, are they?
Well, probably you could...
I just thought of that, and now I'm sorry. Shot, is that what they
That's
look
shot,
like?
yes,
Shot.
yes.
And that was released in very, very large numbers and
Yes.
went where it would.
Yes. That
And
is
if you're on the receiving end of it, you know all
So
about
that
that
is
too.
some of the smaller
Yeah,
the
my
shots.
job, yeah.
We have here actually some of the money which was printed by King James during 1689, and it was known as a gun money. It was how he paid his troops actually for their employment, as you might say, in Ireland during the what I call time of his escapades in this Ireland of ours.
Yeah. And the watch, what's that?
The watch actually is reputed to be had belonged to at one time to Governor Walker, who was the gentleman who actually took control during the siege and gave, let's say, hope to the citizens of the city during that particular time.
And that was made in Paris by Robert Ici
Yes.
à Paris.
Yes.
What date would be on that?
Well, the date actually that we have, I think, was 1664 when the watch was actually made. It had been recased, and the gentleman who presented it to us actually was a member of our order. It was handed to us in roughly about 1959, and it had been given to his father, presented to his father at that particular time after being recased. As you can see, the second hand is missing.
That's
This
right,
is the
yeah.
actual timing
Yeah,
that was
the
on
actual
it.
timing. And the big windy part of it.
Big
really.
windy part, yes.
Yeah.
It was, as you appreciate, actually, a keepsake of the Apprentice Boys, belonged to Governor Walker actually at the time of the siege. Could I just show you one other thing which
Shoot, please.
we have very
That Mrs.
interesting-
Hume.
Don't
No,
ask-
sorry, I beg your pardon. That's Mrs. Guy, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, how do you do, Mrs. Guy? Sorry about that. Well, meet John Hume.
How you doing, Mrs. Guy?
Well, who is that then? Oh, that's Mrs. Hume. Oh, you see, I never met Mrs. Hume. How are you, Mrs. Hume? Yeah, how do you do? You're very welcome indeed. Good to see you, Pat. I beg your pardon. I didn't get a chance to meet you all beforehand. Now, what is this ragtag thing?
Well, it looks, as someone said earlier on, would it be an old shamrock actually? It
Yeah.
had been put away for quite some time.
Yeah.
But this actually is the remnants of one of the French flags that was captured during a sortie by some of those who were defending the city in 1689. In fact, the date is the 7th of May, 1689. And it was taken from the French forces at the Battle of the Windmill. And it was actually placed in St. Colum's Cathedral in the year 1692. And just actually about 1975, we replaced the original flags under the guidance of Dean Good, who was in the cathedral at that particular time.
Very
and we
frail.
replaced, but that's the old French original
Very
flag. Part
fair.
of it.
What colour do you reckon it was originally?
Well, it
God knows.
was originally orange.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Yes, what a stupid question.
Well,
But
of course,
the
the Prentice Boys actually take the colour crimson.
Yes, you're confusing me.
appreciate
You're confusing me indeed, yeah. Yes. They're great artifacts, though. My goodness me, they really are well worth having. Well worth having. Thank you for talking to me for the moment. Don, would you introduce our next guest there? A young man at the piano now. Tell us about him.
Well, he comes from a place very convenient to the city, Ballykelly, and another very talented young man who I think is following in the footsteps of Phil Coulter. And he has already appeared in our RT and made a big impression, I think, and I think you'll enjoy him now. Francis Canning.
Francis Canning. Let's have a welcome. Good boy. Well done. That was great. Well done. Well done. Terrific. Terrific. Well done, Frank. You are Celine, and you are Pat, and that is Anne.
Jay.
And have we a fourth?
Jim.
No, no.
Jim.
No. Joy is looking for Jim. The other lady
That's
couldn't
right.
make it.
That's right. You see, he's not wearing
No,
a
you see,
That's right. He's not wearing a skirt. That's right. He's not wearing a skirt.
I'm in disguise.
So now, are you all in the shirt business?
Yes.
And how long have you been in the shirt business?
Well, I've been in it now 38 years.
Get away. And how long for yourself?
Just 20 years.
20 years. Don't be shy. Talk up. What about Anne?
A little over 32, yes.
32 years.
Yes,
Yes.
around that, yes.
And do you all work for the same company?
We did, yes. We're actually, we've known one now just over 30 years, Gay. And we're still a friend, and it's still maintained over through the 30 years. We still keep in touch, very much in touch with one another.
Hmm. And do you see each other socially and everything? And
Oh, we do, yes, as often as possible.
Yeah.
As often as
I saw a
possible.
photograph earlier on in one of the books that I was looking up during the week, and the overcrowding in the shirt factory in the old days. I'm sure it's rather improved now. But is it?
Oh, very much so.
It is,
yes.
yes. And did you start now straight from school?
I did 14 years old when I started. In those days, the week before you left school, your mother sent you out to buy a pair of scissors and told you started on Wednesdays and Monday. That's the way it was in those days. You know, you just went straight from school into the factories.
You finished school Friday, Monday morning you were in the
Started
shirt
working Monday in
factory.
factories, that's right.
And now, was this part of the reason why men generally who were unemployed, the wives all went out to work in Derry? Is that it? That this was the whole tradition? Is that right, Jim?
Yes, that would be it. That's quite correct, yeah.
And that went on for years and years and years.
Yes, quite so. If you appreciate Phil Coulter's song of the town I love so well, like they did depict that particular series or events in the city at that particular time, when he said actually that a woman went to work actually when the factory horn blew, and the men, they took the dogs out to walk it.
And to what extent is that still true now?
Well, I wouldn't just say it's just as bad as that, but as you appreciate, with the present situation in the city, actually the unemployment is very, very bad. That I think actually with the uptake or the increase in the shirt industry, which has just come to the fore recently, and thank goodness it has actually taken up, that it could turn out the same way again, that the women are going back to do what they done years ago, and that is be the breadwinners for the families and for their own homes.
I see. Well, what would you think of the shirt that I'm wearing? Would you think that's a good shirt?
Why don't you take off your coat and we'll show you the parts?
I know that's my trade there again. Yeah.
I don't think so.
No,
it's not a Derry shirt.
I don't believe it. Okay, no. Can I just?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
You don't mind if I?
Not at all. No. Strip away. Give us all
I'll take off your
Would you mind?
Is it your cuff?
That's not our cuff. That's not.
How would you know it's not your cuff?
Oh, you've a big massive slip at the back of it. You see, we're not allowed that at all. No,
You're
dairy
not allowed
workers
that.
do not have slips in the back of their cuff, no.
I see. And what about the collar? That wouldn't be good quality shirt either, would it?
Not really. What about the side? You have a
I'll
look
give
at
it
the side, Simon.
about 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Is that all? Marks and Spencers are going to be very angry with you, I can tell you that. They're going to be very angry with you, I can tell you that. You, whatever about your shirt, you've just dirtied your bin. I can tell you. There you are now.
On behalf of the girls of Welsh Margisons, I'd like to give you a shirt and tie. We've made both.
Have you really? Have you really? How about that? It says, chemise et cravate. You never found that in Derry, did you? It's a St. Michael, that.
Yes. Well, that's Marks and Spencer's brand name.
Yes. I see.
We work exclusively for Marks and Spencer.
So is that.
It's not.
It is so.
So it is. You didn't recognize your own.
Prove it.
The Crowder Chancers, that's what
We haven't seen the label.
The difference is that possibly that may not be a city-made shirt.
A city-made shirt. As distinct from what?
As distinct from, from other makers, actually. City-made shirt is just
Bishop,
perfect.
I can do without your comments on the side. Comments like Hong Kong and Shanghai and things like that.
Well, I didn't like to say that.
You didn't like to say it, but you're saying it anyway, that's it. Well, I was going to give you a present now. You've insulted me. I'm not going to give you a present. But thank you very much. You made both the shirt and the tie, did you?
Yes, the tie, we've only started making ties recently.
That's right, yes. Yeah. Well, now I will wear that with pride and great joy.
Thank
In return for that, I have a little present for you. A shop called La Pâtisserie Française would like to present every mother in the audience with some truffles. Now I can't give, I haven't got that many under my oxter at the moment. There you are now. I have one of those little truffles for Mother's Day. There you are. There you are. Nell, you can't have one. You're not a mother. Unless, of course, Nell, you want to make an important announcement. There you are. Now, an exchange of presents between Dublin and Derry. Thank you very much for the kind thought. I really appreciate that. Now, what's that?
Derry's the maiden city, and it'll always remain that
Derry's
way.
the maiden city.
The maiden
is it? Yeah.
city.
Well, we better not comment on that, not with the clergy present. Now, Don, where are you, Don? Will you do the needful on your next introduction now, and let us see James and yourself doing your thing. You see, Don is doing a great job tonight. He's playing and singing and introducing
We
and
have a
everything.
dance this time by the McLaughlin Traditional Dancers. It's a dance called the Celtic Cross, and it's been composed for the team by the principal of the school, Mary McLaughlin. So they're All-Ireland and Ulster champions, and they're dancing at the Celtic Cross.
There you are. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. Not only cakes from La Patisserie Française in Grafton Street, but for every mother in the audience too, some chocolates from Cadbury's. How about that? Nothing for Eamon McCann. Have a box of chocolates with the compliments of. There you are now. What are you saying, Eamon? We have some more for mothers outside. For mothers outside will come. There you are. What are you saying, Eamon? What are you saying? What?
What about potato bread, soda farls?
I can't hear you. What?
Say, what about potato bread, soda farls? I mean, proper food.
Always giving out, always giving out, always giving out. Could we have a welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for Paddy Doherty here in Glen Bar, down this side of the audience, just spotting them now at this very moment, so they are. There you are. Well, good to see you. I want to talk to you for a few minutes, both of you, if I may, please. Can you see me? You can, yes. I have to sit down too, you see. About the Derry experiment and the Maydown Youth Training Project. How many lads have you each now? Paddy, how many lads have you working to you?
We have about 150 young people and about 75 adults working on a variety of schemes.
Like what? What skills are you teaching them?
Well, the Youth and Community Workshop have a wide variety of activities. Some of them are behind you there, painting, glasswork, there's carpentry, joinery, and a whole variety of skills. But that's not what it's about, of course, you know.
Yes, tell me what it's about.
Well, I'm glad to be with Glen Bar tonight. And can I tell you a story about Glen?
Please do. Can we have a bit of PA on this, Charlie, please?
I was captured by the UDA one time. And they were trying to make up their mind whether they would shoot me or not. And Glen Bar walked in and took me off the hook. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be here with Glen Bar. And I introduced that note of reality just in case the people of this country would think that the northern problem had disappeared and they could go to their bed quietly tonight and forget about it. People are still being brutalised in the north of Ireland.
Indeed. Indeed.
And we need a lot of help to solve that problem. Glen Bar does it in his way, I do it in my way. Whether we will have any effect on the overall political situation is hard to know, but certainly we think that there's a great future for Derry.
Well then tell me what it's about, Paddy.
Well, some years ago, and I started here in Dublin with Ivor Brown and Paddy Wally and Tom Hardiman of the Irish Foundation for Human Development. And they were alerting this country to the fact that within a generation that there would be mass unemployment, that there would be a breakdown of the social fabric, not only of here, but in all of Europe. And they were saying that we're going to have to redefine work, we're going to have to put the human person right into the centre of the stage again. And they were saying that, and of course politicians were condemning them. With respect to politicians, it's always very difficult to enlighten politicians because you can get no more than about 3 years ahead of them. So what happened at that time was I was working in Derry, and we introduced the whole thinking of putting the person in the centre. And we began to get young people and train them in a variety of skills. The emphasis not on the old buildings which you repair, nor on the skills what they do, but it's really an opening up of the person. And basically we believe that the only way that you can develop a person is by getting that person to accept responsibility for themselves. The same for a community, in fact the same for a nation. But every time this nation accepts responsibility for itself, then it'll be a great nation. I don't think it has done that yet, Gray. But I make that a political point very much.
Yes. Now, Glenn, are you on the same kick then as Paddy? Is that, or is there something else?
We're run under the same operation, but we have a slightly different philosophy. Ours is based more on the work ethos. Paddy's is more on the development of the young people. Ours is more in developing them and making them employable. And we go out in a very serious fashion of trying to prepare them for the world of work and trying to put them into a working environment that makes them more attractive to the local employer and therefore brings about full-time employment for them.
And for export?
Well, export in as much as that we believe that we are trying to equip the young people to be able to work anywhere in the world. And that means that we'd much prefer them to at least go out and seek full-time employment somewhere as opposed to standing around the street corners. And that's the philosophy of the workshop.
And what skills are you, first of all, how many have you under your wing?
140.
And what skills are you teaching your gang?
Basically the same traditional type skills as Paddy, only this year we have been awarded an ITEC, which is Information Technology Centre. We're the second ITEC now in Northern Ireland, and that is developing the young people into the world of technology, computers and electronics, and we are now developing that for another new whole outlook for the young people in the city.
Yes. And Paddy, how is your thing working?
I think it's...
How are you succeeding?
Yeah, well, it's difficult to know how you succeed with young people because what happens inside their heads really is their business. How it comes out at the end of the day, I'm not quite sure. I am not... I'm different from Glenn. I don't believe that we should export our young people. I think the richness of this country is in the young people. And I think the future of this country depends on what we can do for them, and I don't think we're doing very much for them at the minute. I think that is a wealth which cannot be replaced. It's very important that we keep our young people here. I think that they should go out and gain experience. But it is succeeding in many ways because we have looked at the old city of Derry. And Derry, of course, is a magnificent city. It's very beautiful. It's one of the few remaining walled cities in the whole of Europe. It's in a beautiful setting, and unfortunately it has allowed history to abuse it. And we would like to think that we should ourselves use history for our own benefit. Therefore, one of the schemes that we have taken is that we have looked at the old city. About 10% of it was dilapidated, was burned, was bombed out, and we decided to rebuild it again. And one of the buildings which we adopted at the time was this building, as you can see.
Just hold that up. Yes, yes, Paddy, if you would, please.
And that's the building as we adopted it.
Yeah, what building is that now?
That's what we call it, the Wool Warren House. It's right in the heart of the centre of Derry.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the building when it's finished, this other one.
Oh, hold them both up, please. Yes, yes. On the left, then, on my left, the building as it was when you first started, and on the right, the building as it is now. Well, my goodness me. And that was all done by young lads?
Yes, a mixture of young people and long-term unemployed. And I think that a place like Dublin, which has a lot of dilapidated buildings, should be doing this type of thing.
Yeah.
That's, again, another building which we adopted.
Let's see that. On the left, the old building, yes, just there, yes. And then on the right-hand side, there it is completed. My goodness. My goodness.
When we talk about redefining work, what we say is that there is plenty of work to be done. There may not be enough of jobs around about, but there's no reason why all of the people in this country, and I'm surprised if they're a building labourer or a building tradesman in the whole city of Dublin who is unemployed at this moment in time when there's so much to be done.
And Paddy, who finances you now? Who paid for all of that?
We are financed by a variety of groups, particularly the Northern Ireland office, and 55 pence in every pound that we get comes from Europe. The City Council itself is one of our most magnificent supporters, and we get a tremendous amount of help from them. And in fact, the scheme couldn't operate without the help from the City Council. We do get some money from America, and one of the things that we're doing at the moment, we are trying to reconnect the links between America and ourselves, and we're building a Philadelphia house, a Boston house, and a Minnesota house, and a California house, and people are coming from these places to be part of Derry, because Derry was the main immigration port from the north of Ireland during the time of the famine. And it's said that there is a road of whitened bones from Derry right to the coast of America of people who never made the journey. So what we're doing now is we're encouraging those people to become involved in Derry. And there's no reason why the people of Dublin and the people of Galway and the people of Cork couldn't weigh in behind us and put a bit of money into Derry and do the same thing, because it helps our environment, it creates employment, it creates space for young people to find themselves and work.
And Glenn, who finances you now?
We're financed by the Department of Economic Development under their YTP scheme, and that's 100% grant aided.
So these young lads who do all that work get something every week?
£26.25. And we've got, Paddy's got 6 of his kids here tonight, and there's 6 of them from the Maidown workshop here tonight as well.
Yes, well, now I wanted to introduce me, Paddy, to the lovely young lady beside you.
Una Green's in charge of our art department, and she is the person responsible.
And you referred to these pictures over here. Sorry, Aidan, or Jerry, who can get to that? Jerry, sorry. Those 3 pictures, now who would have done those?
Well, the paintings have been done by some of the trainees, and the stained glass, well, the stained glass was done by Ellen here on the end.
The stained glass on your right there, Jerry.
Yes.
Sorry, just on the right. It really should be backlit to show it properly, but...
It was done by Ellen with the glasses here on the end.
And how long would Ellen be doing stained glass now? Right at the end, sorry,
Yes.
Ellen, hello, yeah. How long would Ellen be doing stained glass?
Ellen has been working on stained glass for approximately the last 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah. Is that all?
Yes.
From scratch, you mean?
Yes, from scratch.
And the next picture in the middle one?
The next picture, in fact, both of the next 2 paintings have been done by Michael behind me here, Michael Coyle.
How are you doing? And how old is Michael?
17.
17, yeah. And did you paint before, Michael?
No.
Not at all?
No.
And you put those together? see. And am I reliably informed, probably not, Paddy, that religion and politics are not allowed as discussion subjects while we work?
Oh, yes.
The wrong workshop.
Yeah, well, there's a difference. There's a different approach. Our workshop is encouraged to discuss it and have debate and argument about it. I think Glenn
But
might.
in Glenn's is verboten.
One other, just before you leave.
Completely verboten, Glenn, is it?
It's not permitted at all. No.
So there's a different approach. We believe that that's the way you deal with it, of course.
We
Glenn,
believe that if the politicians and the adults of Northern Ireland can't deal with the political and religious problems, how do you expect 16 and 17, 18-year-olds to deal with it?
Well, you know what happens? There was somebody said a long time ago, unless you become like little children. The politicians. Just one person. There are a group of people that I would need to thank, and that's our trustees, the two bishops, and the former moderator of the Presbyterian Church, and the mayor of the day, and a couple of members of the Northwest Centre are our trustees. They signed the original note for £250,000, which has allowed us to buy the old buildings, and we now have 10 buildings under our belt. 5 are completed, and 5 more are under construction. And when the bishops, I think one of the bishops balked, and I'd say which, at the idea of signing the note, and I said, sure, Bishop, it's a long time since they jailed a bishop in this country for bad debt.
It is indeed. Well done. Well done. Got away with it. Well done. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce our next guest, and of course it is Dana, whom you met earlier on. And before, Dana, would you take your place there ready for singing, because I wanted to make a special announcement for Dana. She tells me just before the show that her dad, Robert, is watching the show in Derry tonight. I trust your mother is watching the show as well. I mean, she wouldn't be looking at something else, would she, by any chance? Of course not.
No,
anyway, and her dad Robert has not been too well recently. Nothing serious, and he's doing fine, but he's watching the show tonight and to see his little daughter perform. So, Mr. Brown, we send you our very best regards, and we hope that you will be better very soon. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, John.
As I stand on the ground where you stood, and I walk in your footsteps, I imagine the way that you felt and the thoughts you were thinking.
Very good. There they go. That's what they wanted to do all night. It's the only reason they came, you see. That's the thing. Nell, how are you, Dote? Good to see you. Are you well? You're welcome.
I was never better.
You were never better.
Yeah,
Do you
without me troubles.
You know everybody here, Nell, do you?
Well, nearly. Sure, if I don't, I should.
Is it true, Nell, that apart from all the things we've ever been told about you, that the most exciting night in your life was the night Dana won the Eurovision Song
The
Contest?
second most exciting. The other was the night young Spider Kelly took the title, 4 o'clock in the morning, the whole town was wide awake.
Were you there?
Yeah, you passed it over very quickly. It was a great night.
Tell me about it. Tell me about
And then
it.
the night,
Yeah.
night Jobby Crossing joined Belgian Liège.
Jobby Crossing.
And my mother kicked my father in the kitchen and said, I told you football was a good profession, because he was in love with my sister.
24 caps for Ireland that night.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Jobby
I know.
Crossing? Yeah.
We could have married him, my family.
What do you mean he was doing a line with your...
Yeah.
Doing a line with your sister?
Yeah, my daddy didn't approve.
Why?
He was only a Derry City footballer. There's no money in football.
No money. Why wouldn't he have thought of you, Nell? Were you not in the offing at all?
I was
no?
10. Sure, Spider never thought of me either.
And
I've been passed over so often.
Tell me.
I'm not bitter. I never liked troubles.
Tell me about the night Spider won the boxing match.
It was very dark. It was very late. We were all woken up. My dad said Spider's fighting.
Yeah.
And we got up and the radio was turned on.
Yeah.
And there was me and my 2 sisters, my 2 brothers. And we danced around the kitchen and we struck blows. And we fought every inch of the way. And then at some stage, I said, you must have been fighting somewhere foreign, were you, in the middle of the night?
No, not really. No, Belfast.
That's somewhere foreign.
And then they said Spider Kelly champion. I didn't even know what he won. I just knew he was the champion of the whole world. And my daddy opened the scullery door and the shop horns were going.
Yeah.
And then he opened the front door and all the men were standing out in the street. And the very next morning we got up looking for Spider Kelly. And you ignored me. I trained with that man.
He was in Belfast, that's why.
I ran around after him for 2 weeks in Spider signed me photograph. I was like, he was going that fast. Never caught up with him.
Now, and what about the night then? The second biggest night in your life
That's
was
the
when
night
Dana
Dana
won.
won Eurovision.
Yeah. What about that?
All kinds of everything remind me of you. She was young, she was innocent. It was 3 years after we were all neither young nor innocent.
Right.
1968, we'll draw a merciful veil over that occasion, but that night we were all very kind. And I remember ringing up an English journalist called Mary Holland, the Observer, saying, listen to this, and taking the phone out of the phone box beside the big flats. And the whole town was singing, or seemed to be. I said, all kinds of everything remind me of you. And I said, you write every word of that down.
And the whole place went on fate.
Yeah.
That's a word you'd use in the Irish Times. We
Yeah.
don't use it often around here. It's a happy night.
Absolutely lovely.
It's a happy night. You remember that, Bishop David?
Yes, I remember it very, very well.
Yeah.
Not to mention the night I thought I was going to be Pope, but this one was and I was mocked. You have a longer memory than I have.
What was the night you were going to be Pope, Nell?
I used to have the sweet religious experiences he gave when I was young. I used to go to bed. I did, yeah. And I used to go to bed every night and say my prayers. And then I'd stand up in the bed. Because I thought I was going to be Pope and I wanted to show God I was worthy of the job. And I'd bless the world, like that there. God bless the entire world. And the curtains weren't drawn. And I used to look out my back lane. And there was this family across the way standing in their scullery, herding their brother, Mickey up there to bed. And they used to be mocking me, used to go, because they were older than me and they knew something I didn't know. They knew that no woman could ever be Pope.
And it was years later that oh dear, oh dear. Oh
Did you know about him and his kidney?
No. Who was kidney?
I ended up in hospital one night to see, I had a wee emergency. Nothing to be trouble. And I discovered I had 3 kidneys.
Yes.
Same night, he had a wee emergency. Yeah. He discovered he had to lose one of his kidneys. He'd 1 kidney and I had 3. And I sent word
Never
to him.
told me that.
I sent word to him. I said, listen, I'll give you my extra kidney, providing you open a family planning clinic in the Bogside.
She told me the second, she never told me the first.
And he never replied, and that's why he's sitting there now with 1 kidney and I'm
oh dear, that's lovely. That That is known, Nell, as a snooker.
Your Mal kill you when you go home now.
Kids here for the family plan.
Snooker, well done. Well done. Don, come to my rescue, please. Get me out of this bad company. Not you, Bishop, I hate you. Get me out of this bad company over here and introduce our next item now. It's the Londonderry Amateur Operatic Society. Don.
Right,
Tell us
that's
about
right, Gay. They're a group who were formed in 1969, and since that time they've brought a lot of pleasure to a lot of people in our city because they've produced 20 shows over that period of time. This year they presented the Pirates of Penzance. We're going to see a little excerpt from it now, conducted by Eric Boyd.
The Londonderry Amateur Operatic Society.
Right.
Let's give them a welcome. Well done.
There is nothing
Well done. Well sung, and you look great. The Amateur Operatic Society, Eric Boyle conducting there. What is this you're saying to me, John Hume, about flying to Derry? What?
Just a plug to tell the people from Dublin that from the 1st of May they can fly to Derry every day and back, courtesy of Air Aran.
Air Aran, starting a service from May 1. Will this make a great difference, Mr. Hume?
Well, we think so. It links us into international services. It links us into the outside world, and I just want people. I want people to be aware that it's happening and to give it their full support.
Very good. All right, we will do that. Mr. Miles Stott, how do you do, sir? Pleased to welcome you. I know you're ex-superintendent of the Guildhall. And how many years were you in that post, sir?
13 years.
And do you miss meeting all those important dignitaries?
Oh, yes, I do indeed, yes.
Indeed, yes. And what was this I heard about you and Billy Connolly lying under a table? Is that true? Do you all know this story?
Well, I wasn't under the table. It was the night that there was a contest in the Guildhall, and Phil Coulter was on stage just before they announced the winners, playing the Water Babies. And I was in the back room talking to Joe Cuddy.
Yes.
And we heard a bang. So I came out to see what had happened. And I went on stage, and Dawn here reached me a microphone. And I went and asked the people what was wrong with them. They're all under the tables. And we got them out of the building quietly without any fuss. But the big story is Billy Connolly was one of the judges, and he was under the table.
Frightening.
And while he was under the table, well, I don't know if he was frightened or not.
He was
He was under the table.
mind.
I'll come to that. Somebody crawled over when this was going on and handed Billy Connolly a bit of paper and said, "Can I have your autograph?" The next day, my daughter was getting married, and the reception was in Everglades Hotel, and Billy Connolly was there, and he said to me, "Miles," he says, "you know, it was biling on me."
It was. Indeed. Jimmy Duffy, I do believe. How are you? A man who made the sets for every production that was ever known around Derry.
I've been proud tonight to see all the different companies here.
Yeah.
Both dance bands, Johnny Quigley and Gay McIntyre. I've worked for all the artists that appeared tonight on the stage.
Yeah.
I've been about the stage now for over 50 years, we'll say 50 years.
And I'm told they have a lot to be thankful to you for.
I have another week of drama in Derry. The City of Derry Drama Festival is on this week, so I have to get back to the stage again.
Great tradition.
So it was a pleasure to be here tonight.
Good. Well, it's a pleasure for us to have you. Pleasure for us. Well done. John, will you do the honours for me? Don Doherty again of Radio Foyle, do the honours for me with Mary now, please. Maureen.
Maureen, well, this is one of the gems in the crown of our city, Gay. She's a young lady again who's been blessed with a very beautiful voice and the talent to use it, and she's taken that voice to the United States and indeed all over the world as well. Maureen Hegarty.
Maureen Hegarty, ladies. Over.